No more can be traded. My heart's have been spaded. I'm not too prideful to up and leave. You've been on complacent. The tides have been changing. Love is just patience, and for you.
What's up, bookish babes? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna be doing an end of the year reading wrap up. Now, I'm not going to discuss all these books that I read because I do have monthly reading wrap ups on my channel. You can check the playlist and find each one if you want in-depth reviews on these books. And then I have some read vlogs with some of these books in it so you can see my reaction. So we're not going to go through all these books. I'm going to basically just touch on the ones that I feel like need to be touched on. I read 102 books this year. 102 books. It is the 29th, December the 29th. So far I've read 102 books. And we're going to go through them from the beginning of last year to this year. Let me go to my Goodreads and pull up what I read. Now, I did go through and stack these books in order so that we can be organized, but I also listened to some books and I also read some books on my Kindle that I don't own. So yeah, that's why my Goodreads is needed, because I don't want to miss any books. Hey, y'all thinking I can't count, because I can sometimes. So the first book I read this year was Six of Crows. I read this book mainly because a lot of people was talking about how good it was and how they enjoyed this book, and I enjoyed it for the most part. I think I gave the book a 4 stars. It was a pretty good book. So Six of Crows was our first read of January 2023. After that, now my thing's jumping off. After that, I went into The Stand-In by Lily Chu. It was a what was it? An Audible original, and I think I was heading somewhere and I ended up listening to it. I don't know, I probably was going to Atlanta or something, because 9 times out of 10 I was going to Atlanta or Florida when I was listening to this. So The Stand-In, it was a pretty good book. The next one ended up being The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I read this, a lot of people were talking about this. I read it, great book. The next one is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I enjoyed this book so much. It was a really good book. And that's it. The next book I read was Alex Feeney, Rock, Paper, Scissors. Now, a lot of people like this book, and I just wasn't with it. And being that now, I should have filmed this before I filmed my end of the year book tag, because it would refresh my memory on some things. Because I know one of the questions was, what was one of the overhyped books that... what was a popular book that you didn't love or something like that? I think that was the question, or I'm just making it up, but I didn't love this book. I didn't love that book. After that, I read Addicted After All, y'all. I'm absolutely obsessed with the Calloway sisters. The Addicted Calloway clan. Lily Lowe, Reich, Daisy, Rose, and Connor. I absolutely love them. I have to finish this series. This was the last book I read. What's the next book that come after this? I think, is it Fuel the Fire? Yeah, it is. I want to go ahead and get the new cover to the Calloway sister ones. I'm not gonna really try to replace these, but love them. If you haven't read the Addicted Calloway series, please do. I love them. Then I finally decided to read Final Offer by Lauren Asher. I absolutely love this book. This was a great book. I love Callahan's story. He was like one of my favorite brothers, and his book is one of my favorite books because it has so much depth into it, and he was actually going through stuff, and the other ones were just kind of like petty little things they had to do, but his had so much depth, and I absolutely enjoyed this one. After reading that, we read Secretly Yours. Now, if you know me, then you know I absolutely love It Happened One Summer, and I was like, oh, well, Chelsea Bailey coming out with a new book, let me grab it. I grabbed it. I did not like it. I just cannot get with I met this guy one day and I'm absolutely head over heels in love with him. I just don't get that. I don't get it. It just don't click with me right here. Like, it don't click here, or it don't pull nothing in my heartstrings, because I'm like, you met this guy one day, a couple hours out of your whole life, and you're just head over heel in love with this man. Impossible. Impossible. Maybe I just don't believe in love at first sight. Maybe I need to be a romantic to understand, but impossible. Then I read one of my favorite books of the year, and that is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This book sent me down a binge spiral with Riley Sager books. I absolutely love this book. If you haven't read this book, you need to read this book. Amazing book. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. The House Across the Lake. I'm going to reread this soon. The House Across the Lake. I love this book, y'all. Then another 5-star read come right after that. Baby, I don't know what it was, but when I read The House Across the Lake, 5-star books just started coming out of the woodwork. So then I read Mary Jane, which is a coming of age story, which also ended up being a 5-star book. I didn't think I was gonna like this book when I picked it up, but boy, did this book surprise me. Enjoyed the crap out of that book. Then Lucy Score released The Things We Hide from the Light. This is Nash's story. It picks up where he ends up getting shot in The Things We Never Got Over, and it kind of tell his story of going through PTSD and him hooking up with Lena. Yeah, Lena, which is his brother's best friend. So, you know, nothing to write home about. Then I read The Perfect Marriage. Y'all, I was so surprised by this book because, well, I'm not going to say I was surprised. Like, this is one of the books that, of all books I've read, that I actually was like, I'm a psychopath. Because the same thing this lady did in this book is the first thing that came to my mind when the story started getting involved, where her husband was end up cheating on her, and the house that she got him, not they got each other, she got him a house. I think it's like a cabin or something, and she ended up getting him one so he can go right, and he ended up cheating on her in that household, and the mistress ended up dead, and they are charging him because he was the last one with her. When I was reading this and I got to that part, I was like, oh, I would do this and do that. And then when it came out to be, I was like, yeah, I'm a psycho. It's something wrong with me. I need to control my anger, because don't play with me. You wouldn't have that house if it weren't for me. I will put you in timeout. The next book I read was 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Now, one thing about this book I always say is I enjoyed the book for the most part. I just couldn't get with everybody's point of view in here. I did not care about her mother's point of view, her best friend and her husband's point of view. I did not care. I just wanted the point of view of Eva, and I think his name's Shane. Eva, Shane, and her daughter. That is it. That is all. I didn't even care about the daughter point of view. I just want Eva and Shane's point of view, and the fact that they gave me everybody else's point of view in here, I was like, I just, Then we read, did I read this next? Yep, we read Housemaid. Yep, Housemaid. Just The Housemaid, not The Housemaid Secret. We read The Housemaid by Freeman Fatten, and girl, I became obsessed with, what this girl name is? Millie. I became obsessed with Millie after reading this book, and I needed more, and I was so glad that she ended up releasing another book with Millie in it. So that. And then I read Trauma Porn. I don't even think I finished this book because I was so traumatized reading this book. I had to stop. I don't even know why I stopped in this book, but I know I was close to the end and I stopped reading it because it's trauma porn. Like, it's strictly straight trauma, and a lot of people love this book, and I cannot, y'all. I couldn't. Y'all, I can't do abuse. Like, if it's like hardcore abuse, I'm not for it. I can't read about it, cause no, trauma porn. Then we read Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. I enjoyed this book. This was a good book, great book. That's all I have to say. Then I listened to, I guess, like a novella by Kennedy Ryan called Coming Home. It's like a black HBCU homecoming. I listened to that on Audible as well. And after listening to that, I probably in the middle of listening to that, I was reading Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I enjoyed this book. Baby, one thing about sports romance, they are spicy. Sports romance are spicy as crap. I enjoyed this book. The next one I read was Mile High, which is part of the Windy City series. It is by Liz Ford. I read that one. I enjoyed it for the most part. I did not like how Xander was being this quote unquote playboy, but a nice boy behind those closed doors. Like, be yourself. Don't try to impress people. Be yourself. Then after that, I read Magnolia Park. Y'all, if y'all heard me talk about this book, you know what I'm gonna say. I thought it was kids. I honestly thought they were kids. They're adults carrying on the way they was carrying on. Now, I did enjoy the end of the book. I may even reread it. I don't know. I may have to reread it to get back, like, to get the feel of it. But, baby, it's just, a lot of people love this book. Like, 5-star reads for them. But I just couldn't get with how they was carrying on. Like, they was too old for that for me. Too old to be acting like they were acting. Let me hurry up because I want a fruit salad. Then I read City of Bones, another book that I read. I'm trying to get into the Cassandra Clare fandom, but we'll see. I just read that one. After reading City of Bones, I read Once Upon a Broken Heart. I ended up getting it to 3-star. It was a good book. Were a very whimsical Alice in the Wonderland-esque, but I enjoyed it. Then after reading that, after the ending of that one made me dive into the next one, which I gave a 5-star. This is like my favorite book out the series. I enjoyed the crap out of this book. I love Jax. We love Jax. After reading about Jax, I decided to pick up Amari and the Great Game. This is a middle grade book. I enjoyed this book. I love this book. Anything with Amari in it, I love. It's a great book. If you haven't read it, read it. Then I think I did a week of thrillers where I started reading another Riley Sager book, Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. Y'all, I'm a Riley Sager stand. After reading that, then we read Then She Was Gone. Y'all, this book is so dark. I got this book because the girl got my last name. That's why I bought the book. Because she has my last name. But as I was reading it, I was like, wait, whoa. Like, it was a dark read. It was a good book, dark read. Then we read The Housemaid's Secrets by Freida McFadden. I absolutely love Millie. Millie. I love Millie. I love her story. I cannot wait till The Housemaid and Watching's coming out. Great book. Amazing. Then we read No Lie by Freida McFadden. I don't own that book for some reason. I thought I did, but I don't. Maybe I need to go to the bookstore before, well, maybe I need to take another trip to the bookstore today because I just left. But yeah. Then we read The Good Lie by A.R. Torres. I don't even remember reading that book. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Don't even remember reading that book. Then we read on my Kindle A Worthy Love by A. Valdez. I did not know this was like the 4th book in the series, so I'm gonna have to go back and read book 1 through 3 to see, and then I might reread 4. But then we read that. I absolutely love that book. 5-star read. If you haven't read A Worthy Love, please read it. Then I read A Villain Kiss by T.L. Smith, y'all. Then we read Happy Place by Emily Henry. I enjoyed this book. It was a good book. Great summer read. Then we read Vacation Wars by Megan Quinn. I think they're doing a re-release, a republish of her books in different covers. But yeah, this one was about sisters going on vacation, and I think somebody was getting married. I think her sister was getting married, and they was doing like this vacation, and the girl at the same place they did over throughout their childhood. Yeah, something like that. It was a good book. I listened to it on Audible for sure. Then I read the last book in like the Court of Thorns and Roses, which was Court. It's what I'm saying. This is Cassian and Nesta story. I enjoyed the crap out of this book. I want to reread the whole series. I don't know when, but I love this book 10 times. 10 stars. Then we started the Natural series, one of my favorite series of all time. If you haven't read this one, it's like a Criminal Mind retelling. I absolutely love it. Love, 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 love this book. Love this book. If y'all haven't read The Naturals, I don't know what y'all doing. You need to read it because everyone who's read it love it. Read The Naturals. The Naturals, The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Okay, so after reading The Naturals, I was sent an Art of Safe Harbor by Kay Sinkos, and I read that. It was a pretty good book. I enjoyed the book so much. She's supposed to be releasing another one soon, so when that come out, I will be reading that as well. After reading that, I read my very first Sarah Adams book, and that's The Cheat Sheet. I kind of stumbled across her this year because a lot of people was talking about her books and how good they are, so I decided to pick this one up and read it. So great book. I do recommend you reading her book. They're fairly short and they're very good. After reading that, then I read the most hyped up book of 2023, which was Fourth Wing. I absolutely love this book. I love Zayden and Violet. We hate Dane. We love Liam. That's it. Y'all been hearing people talk about that book all year. We're not going to keep going on about it. Then after that, I decided to dive back into reading Shadow Me series. So I picked up Ignite Me and read this. I think I have one more book left in the Shadow Me series, which is Imagine Me. But I love Aaron Warner and Juliet. Oh, books are falling. After reading that, we read Ace of Spades. This is like I want to say a dark academia. It's basically about these racist people trying to get the mess of these two young black students' future. Very good book. I enjoyed it. And after reading Ace of Spades, I decided to finally give Renegade a chance, and I surprisingly enjoyed this book. The only book I have left in this series is Supernova, and I think I'm gonna end up reading that. The crazy thing is, I only own this book. I don't own the other one, Anarchy. Yeah, Arc Enemy. I think it's Arc Enemy. I don't own that one or Supernova, so like I said, I might have to end up going book shopping today. So after we read that, let me see, my phone keep going off. After we read that, I decided to go ahead and dive into a few summer beachy reads, and finally read. I think this was the only Emily Henry book I haven't read yet, and it was People We Met on Vacation. I decided to go ahead and read this. It was a good book. I don't see the hype behind it, but it was a good book. Then we read Carly Fortune, Meet Me at the Lake. I don't like this book. Mm-mm. Then I decided to pick up When in Rome, which is another Sarah Adam book. It comes with another book called Practice Make Perfect. I haven't read that one yet, but I enjoyed this one for the most part. And then I read A Curse So Dark and Lonely. Yeah, lonely. I don't know why I want to say lovely. Every time when I read that book, I want to say lovely, but it's so dark and lonely. I read that, and it was a good book. I think it's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I think it is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, 9 out of 10 it is, and yeah, I'm just giving too much thought. Then I think I went into no, I did not go into reading that book. I just picked this book up because a lot of people was talking about it being a 5-star read, and Autumn and Finn. I just this book has a special place in my heart. It has a special place in my heart. Ugh, right time, wrong place. Then I decided to go back into the Crave series, and I read Crush. Surprisingly, surprisingly, I actually enjoy the Crave series. I actually enjoy it. Don't shoot me. I enjoy the Crave series. That's all. I enjoy it. It's a good series to me so far. I only read Crave and Crush, so I actually enjoy it. You know? Then I decided to get back into the Twisted universe, I guess you would say. And I read Twisted Hate. A lot of people say they don't like this book. I actually enjoyed this book. This book is spicy. I enjoyed this book. I need to read Twisted Lies, but yeah. Then I read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I think was this her first book I read this year? Yeah, it actually was her first book, and I think I read it out of order. If I'm not mistaken, I read it out of order, but I really enjoyed that one. Yeah, I did read it out of order, and when I realized I read it out of order, I went back and read Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Y'all, I'm not even gonna lie. I don't I don't even remember what happened in these books. And the crazy thing is, like, somebody can be talking to me about this book, and I'm like, dang, I read that book, but did I read that book? Like, I was thinking so hard about did I read this book or not, but that's just the honest to God's truth. And I decided to finally read a book out the Chestnut Spring series, and I read Flawless. And I'm glad I did because my husband is in this series. My husband is in this series, and I absolutely love the series so far. So I read Flawless, and like I said, I was reading the Shatter Me series, and then I picked up Restore Me, and we read Restore Me. I enjoy this book. I love Aaron Warner and Juliet. I don't know how many times I can say that. Aaron Warner and Juliet. After reading that, I decided to read The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. I don't remember what happened in this book. Any book, I don't know. I think it's such a mindless read that I just don't remember anything that happened in those books, which was crazy. And then I finally decided to go back into Christina Lauren. I think the only book I read of Christina Lauren had to be Love in Other Words, and I really didn't like that book like that. Sorry to say that. I didn't like that book like that. So I decided to give her another chance, and I read The Honey Don't List. Didn't enjoy that book either. After reading that, I read The Serpent in the Wings of Night because that book was so hyped up on Bookstop and BookTube to the point that I was like, I want to see what's going on, and I read it. It was a good book. I enjoyed it. I need to finish the series, so yeah. And then I think that's when I started reading sad books for a week, and I picked up All the Bright Places. I don't remember what happened in this book. What happened in this book? I don't even remember what happened in this book. That is crazy. Did I really read this book? I don't know what happened in this book. That's all I'm gonna say. Then we read You Read Sam. It's a good book. I enjoyed it. It's about her boyfriend who passed away, and when she called his phone, he still answered. Choking over here. Okay. After that cough fit I just had, like I said, I read You Read Sam. It's about her boyfriend who passed away, and she called his phone, and he still answered the phone for her. So then I read The Way I Used to Be. Oh my God. This book was so sad. So sad. I enjoyed it, but it was so sad. Then I read Arch Enemies, the second book in the Renegade series. I enjoyed that book too. I really enjoyed the Renegade series so much. It's a good series. After reading that, I read Kingmaker by Kenny Ryan. That's part of her All Man, a King Man series. I read this. I love Lennox and Maximum. I need to finish reading Rebel King. So, is Rebel King? Yeah, Rebel King. Then I read another Abby Jimenez book, which is Happily Ever After Playlist. I don't remember. Then I decided to finally pick up Blood Like Magic and read it. I enjoyed it. If you know me, you know I love grandparents and books. One thing about me, I am obsessed with grandparents and books to the point that if you have a grandma in a book, a granddad, I'm going to read it because I love grandparents and books. They just do something to my heart that they really pull on my heartstrings. Then, y'all, I finally decided to pick up the Red Queen series. I think I was watching a video and someone was saying like that was their favorite series was Red Queen. I had the series and I was like, well, no, I didn't have the series. I had Red Queen, the single book, and I was like, let me go ahead and try to give this book a try because a lot of people say they like this girl is ranting and raving about this series. So let me see if I like it. I then proceed to read Bench the series. I read Red Queen, then I read Glass Sword, and I read King Cage back to back. This is like a 5-star series to me. Like, I love this series. And after those three, I gave it a break, and then I read Divine Rivals in between, which is another good book that I really enjoyed. If you haven't read Divine Rivals, read Divine Rivals. Ruth and Val came out on the 26th. I also own that. I think it's right there. Right there in that corner. Right here. So, I grabbed this. So, I was like, well, let me go ahead and finish reading the series. So, I finished off with War Storms. And I really, really, really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed the whole series. Like, the whole series, 5-star series to me. If you haven't read it, please do. No, before I read King of Storms, I read Divine Rivals, and then I read The Bodyguard by Catherine Sinners. That was a good book. I enjoyed that book. I read that next. Then I read that the War Storms, and after reading the War Storms, I read Love Theoretically, and I love this book. I love Jack. I feel like anybody named Jack in a book, I'm just gonna absolutely be obsessed with them. I read this. I love this. Great book. After reading that, I decided to pick up Local Women's Missing. That book was good, but I feel like I own that book, but I don't know where it is. I don't know where that book is. I don't know where it is. But I read that. It was alright. Then I read The Nanny, which, although it looks like a little rom-com, it is spicy. It's about this lady who was an OnlyFans creator, and she decided to stop doing OnlyFans, and she ended up nannying for her top OnlyFans fan. Y'all, spicy. Then I decided to finally pick up The Wall of Winnipeg and Me and read it, and I'm glad I did because I enjoyed it. This is my very first Mariana Zapata book that I read, and I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed this. I think this is a lot of people's favorite. This is the only one that I've seen with a different cover because all of them have like covers like this, but this one was a different color. So, y'all, I need to add another Mariana Zapata book to my TBR and see. So, a lot of people don't like her because she's a slow burner author, but I don't care. Then I decided to read Unfortunately Yours. This is about the sister to the guy in Secretly Yours. I enjoyed this book way more than I did Secretly Yours. So yeah. Then we picked up another Riley Sager book, which is The Only One Left. Now this book was so good. This book is about a house that's on a cliff that the girl, one of the ladies was sister daughters, was accused of killing her entire family and being the only one left. But y'all, please read that if you haven't read it. Then I dove back into the Natural series, and I read Killer Instinct, which is book 2 in the series. I enjoyed the crap out of this. After I read that, I then decided to let's go back into fantasy, and I read the King of Battle and Blood. I enjoyed this book. I need to read The Queens of Myth and Monsters next, but I enjoyed this one. After that, let me move over. Whew. I got 2 more stacks, and then we'll be done. After that, we read After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I don't know how I feel about her books yet. I honestly don't know how I feel about her writing, so I can't say much. I don't know how I feel about her writing, so yeah. Then Things We Left Behind came out. And I was so excited about this book because it's about Lucien and Sloane. And everybody wanted Lucien and Sloane's story. But when this book came out, it was about Lucien passed, Sloane trying to help solve a case, Lucien hating Sloane for something going on. It was about everything else but Lucy and Salome, for real. Yeah, I was sad because I wanted so much more from that book that it was crazy. So I decided, since that just didn't hit, let's do some dark romance for a week. And I decided to read Sophie Lark's Brutal Prince. I enjoyed this book. I need to finish the whole series, the rest of the series. I have the next 4 books in that series, but I think it's like 5, 6. It's a 6-book series. I don't know, but I read that, and then I read Hunting Adeline. Y'all, one thing about this book, I feel like the beginning of it, I was just like, okay, wait, you doing a whole bunch, sir. You doing a whole lot of, and I just wasn't feeling it. Like what he was doing, I was like, okay, that's too much for me. What I end up enjoying Zay Meadows. So after reading that, I read The Prison Healer. And now Sarah Carolla was raving about this book to the point where I was like, okay, let me just go buy this book because I want to see what the hype is. It is very repetitive and it's a good series. First of all, let's say it's a good series, but the book is kind of repetitive. Like it's like a day-to-day thing. They're locked up in this prison and they're trying to solve things, and then Kiva ends up going through these trials for the Rebel Queen, and that's for her to get free. It was a lot. It was good though. I enjoyed it, but a lot of people don't like it. Then I was like, okay. It took me a while to get through that book because I kept putting it down, picking other books up. So in between reading that book, I think I read 7 other books before I got to I finished it and got to the next book. So after reading that, I decided to read The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, and I really enjoyed this book so much. It was so good, y'all. It was so good. Then I decided to read Daisy Hates. This is the second book of the Magnolia Park universe. Well, it's Daisy universe, but I decided to go ahead and give this a try. I wasn't going to continue the series, but then they published them in new covers. And I was like, okay, I'm just grab the covers and I'm going to read it. And I really enjoyed Daisy's story. After reading that, I think I did thrillers again for a week, and then I read The Coworker by Freida McFadden. Good book, crazy plot. Then I read All the Missing Girls. I don't remember. I think, yeah, I don't remember. Yes, I do. I do remember. I just get this book mixed up with something else. One of these girls' best friends go missing, I think. And her dad is in this mess. I don't remember. I think that's what happened. I just don't. It's not there. Then I read Lisa Jewell's book. None of this is true. Good book. Good plot. And after that, I read a short book on my Kindle called Take a Chance by Mika May. I read that. And after reading that, I was like, let me just finally read The No Show, since I was saying that I want to read this book. Like, I just constantly kept saying, I want to read The No Show. I want to read The No Show. So I decided, let's finally read the book. And I read it. Then I finally got to the second books in the Prison Healer trilogy. It is a trilogy. I finally got to it and I read The Gilded Cage. I really enjoyed this book. It was a good book as well. After reading that, I read Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey. When I went to look on my Goodreads, this was marked as I haven't even read it, but I read it. I have a video of me reading it. It's in a wrap up in November. I read it in November. I read both of these in November, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I enjoyed this book. This is good. I need to get the third book in this series. So y'all are my reminders to do that. After reading that, then Once Upon a Broken Heart A Curse for True Love was released, and I read this, and I was highly disappointed. My most anticipated read, and I was highly disappointed. After reading that, I read The 7 Year Slip because once again, everyone was ranting and raving about this book and saying how good this book was. And I was like, okay, let me read this book and see what the hype is. I read it. I enjoyed it. It was a really good book. I'm not even gonna lie. That was a good book. That was a good book. After reading that, I picked up Heartless. Oh my god. This is the best decision I ever made to read Heartless because Cade, baby. Cade Eaton is bae. This man has a special place in my heart. That's bae. That is bae. Then I read The Ex-Hex. I think I read this in October. So I read The Ex-Hex. Enjoyed this. It was a good book. Then I finally decided to go back into the Kingdom of the Wicked series, and I read Kingdom of the Curse. I liked this book. It was a good book. I'm not complaining. So then we read the next book in book 5 in the Shadow Me series, which was Defy Me. Then Iron Flame was released. I went to the midnight release party for this, and I read this. I enjoyed this. A lot of people don't like this book. A lot of people said they just wasn't feeling this book like everyone else, like the Fourth Wing. But I actually enjoyed this book. After reading that, I read The Right Move by Liz Ford and baby Ryan Shea. Ryan Shea is another man that got a good place in my heart because, baby, the things he was doing for Indy without even her having to say a word. She just mentioned something once and he was just on it. And he rich. Girl, Ryan Shea. And then I think I read for Christmas books, it's in my one of my Bookmas videos. I read Christmas books for a week, and I read Snow King Catches His Snowflake on my Kindle by A.E. Valdez. That book was so cheesy and cute and cringy. It was just all three. And I really enjoyed it. Baby, Snow. I'm ready to read about his brother Winter to see what his story is. So, yeah. Then I read Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. Yeah, this is about these kids who are, the kids of some famous music ladies that was in a band, and they were trying to get back together, and they was following around. It was a good book for a Christmas read. I think I gave like a 3 stars. And then my last book of the year was Briar Cliff Prep by Brianna Pepins. This is about some sisters who go to this prep school. It's like a high school or prep school, and it's like Spelman in Morehouse. Like they were across the street. I got a video on me reading this. It hasn't came out yet, but it's coming out probably in January. So check it out. So if you want to get my opinion on that. But those are all the books I read in 2023. List some of the books you read down below. Just a few. You ain't got to give me your whole rundown, your whole spiel, because I know a lot of people probably read a lot of books. And yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and end this video, put all these books up, and go to work because I got like 10 minutes to get to work. So I'll see y'all later. Peace.
I'm calling bullshit. Say you got it, but you ain't got nothing. Bad bitches don't